Hi, my name is Tammy Reger and I am a higher self illumination healer. Today is March 1st, 2021, and I'm coming on here to talk a little bit about the energy of this week, specifically the date 3-3. March 3rd has been a date that has been coming up for me for, since mid-January. This week is a pivotal point in time for our upgrades and ascension journey. There are some big energy changes that will come in this weekend. I've already sensed that they started to come in last night. And then throughout the month of March. Now, I don't think I'm going to focus too much on the rest of the month at the moment. Maybe I'll come on in a couple of days and talk about what we can expect for March. I'll just give you a really quick update of what I've been being shown is that it's going to be quick lightning speed, changes faster than I think we can all comprehend. I just hear the word fast and furious every time I ask about March. So why 3-3? Now every month there's a date, 2-2, 1-1, 11-11, 12-12, 10-10. There's always a double digit or 4-digit month component where there's a portal, where there's an energy that is like the theme for the month. And just the same with March, but the 3-3 date is important because 3-3-3 is the Christ consciousness energy. So this March 3rd date is related to Christ consciousness. And there's a massive shift just between these 3 days before March 3rd, which is Wednesday, and then after. So last week in my Facebook Live, I did cards for the 3 days before 3-3 and then the 3 days after. And the energetically vibration between those two spans was so wide, and they wouldn't let me have a card for 3-3. So there's something about 3-3 this year, and it may also always be, and I remember March of last year was when a lot of things started to change, and lockdowns and all of that happened. So March has a history of being tumultuous, very much hold on to your pants. So it's that same energy, but this energy seems to be moving us in a very different, powerful, and more aligned manner. We are all going through this. There is no one who is not, whether they're awake or not. They're going through this. It doesn't matter. And we need to acknowledge that everyone's on their own path, and it doesn't have to look like ours. Everyone's where they're supposed to be. Everything's divine timing. So for the past, I'm going to say since not this past weekend, but the last weekend, there's been a lot of energy happening at night when I meditate, where I'm working with my higher self one-on-one, but it's more of an integration standpoint. And I talk a lot about how rebirth is something that will happen for many of us in this lifetime, and many of us are approaching it very fast. And for those who have been doing this work and trying to clear the physical vessel of lower vibrational energies so your higher self can actually be in your physical body without burning you out, it's been an interesting process. But for the last week or so, I've been working with her, and I've had to really work through some really not dark things, but things in my shadows that I didn't want to admit about myself. And they weren't bad things. They were just things that, many of them were things I didn't feel as though I was worthy of. And I really had to work on where that came from. And in doing that, I'm actually visualizing my higher self's face for the first time. Last week I saw my higher self's face reflected back at me, and I've since seen her whole physical being, and I didn't have that before this. So we're in that they're saying runway period between where the old self is still working on dying and letting itself go and allowing ourselves to become this new. And we're quickly approaching, for some of us, where the place where the new is going to come online this month. And where you are in that depends on what your soul signed up for and before you were born. Some of us very much are this month. Some of them could be around April, around rebirth energies of the solstice, Easter, Passover. Those have a lot of rebirth energy in them. So there's a lot of energy about renewal, change, quickening. So I just dealt some really quick cards. I dealt them first because I have a habit of shuffling cards forever and not actually putting cards out because I'm talking. So I did the first three to get started, and I already know that there'll be more because they told me what these cards are for. So these first three cards are just for the days before 3/3. So every portal, every moon has a 3-day lead in. So the energy builds up, and then you have the day, and then it builds out for 3 days. So yesterday it started the 3/3 build in. And last night, I've been having a lot of a different sensation where I can definitely feel this higher frequency wanting to ground into my physical body. And I know that's my higher self. So, and last night it was hard for me to fall asleep because I could feel her wanting to figure out how to be in the physical vessel. It's like, if you know anything about quality assurance or testing, before they fly a plane for the first time, they have test flights, and then they fix through things, and then they do more test flights. And I keep hearing that we're in the final test flight. So if you're experiencing some of that, that's because your higher self is trying to figure out if there's stuff still left that needs to go before this can be physically done in your physical body. And you need to pay attention to the things that are coming up when that happens. Pay attention to how it feels in the body, all of that, because they're all signs on where you are with that. And I sense for 3/3 that some of us may actually experience this birthing process this week where we actually rebirth the new. And there's a couple of themes that are still riding in this, and they're apparent in the cards I have. And again, some people will do this week, and some people will do it next month, maybe a year. It depends on what your soul contracts are before you were born. But there are still themes that have been going on for a while. So the first card is this one. So it's hard to see. I try to do these during the day so there isn't so much a glare, but it didn't work today. So this is cleaning house. And before I forget, these are my cards I use most of the time. This is the Enchanted Map Oracle deck by Colette Baron Reed. I use that for most of my stuff. I have not found a deck yet that does the same thing for me, that I connect to so well to just get overall reports. I have other cards that I use for other things, but that was pretty much my thing right now. So cleaning house upside down is about letting go of the emotional attachment to things. And this has been a theme that's been ongoing for months since I've been doing these readings, about how we need to let go of the emotional attachment to things. Our emotional attachment to things is what prevents us from being able to grow, allow our soul to have growth, allow ourselves to experience more abundance, joy, bliss, happiness, all of that in our life. It's because we're so emotionally attached to a physical item or an outcome that we miss the opportunities that could come if we were to allow ourselves to let that go. I've had to work through a lot of this stuff for myself in the last couple of months, but the theme is very much still here. Where we are right now is we're working not only to this rebirthing process, but we're also working on, I lost my train of thought. we're working towards, okay, it's gone. If you've ever channeled, you know how that works, because unless it comes and then it goes. But when they're saying that we are still so emotionally attached to the things that we desire in life, and this could be goals that you have, this could be physical items in your house. You know, some people have a lot of what they call knickknacks, which are just things that they've bought like at the, I don't know, at Disney World or Six Flags, wherever it is, and it's just in your house, but it doesn't actually provide an energetic purpose anymore. It's literally just taking up space that could be filled with something even more beautiful if we were willing to let it go. But they're not just talking about physical items. They're talking about the dollar amount in your bank account. We have such an emotional attachment to the dollar amount in a bank account because we've been taught through generationally that the amount in your bank account is your value, which is not true, and it's definitely not part of the higher dimensional frequencies at all. So you have to let go of that. It's not a reflection of you. It's not a reflection of your value and how good you are. And it's not about getting rid of the money. They don't want you to do that. They just want you to let go of the emotional attachment to it. That's one. The other one is results. They're saying a lot of people are still holding out hope for certain things to happen. And then once those things happen, then you think you're going to have happiness, joy, bliss, and all that. That's an inside job. No one can do that for you. And in order for you to truly have that, you must do this letting go process inside of you. What happens outside in the world is not supposed to dictate who you are or what you do. Obviously, there's a moral and ethic thing that everyone should abide by, but you were not created to wait for the world to change or wait for someone to say go before you decided to actually do something in order for you to create the life that you want to live. Not what society wants, what you want to live. And we're moving into a place that is slightly different in this. And I may have mentioned it before, but I know I've talked on in my other lives that I've done, is that for centuries we've lived in this free will model. And our free will model hasn't always benefited us because not all people think from a long-term standard. In fact, many people look on a short-term scale and they think of instant benefits instead of what will roll downhill. And your higher self does not operate on free will. It operates on divine will, which means you or your higher self will only make choices based on what's the greater good for all. And we're mixing in a little bit of free will. I've talked about this elsewhere. I'm not going to do that today because it is a really big topic. And again, maybe it's something I can come on in maybe next week because I know there's a couple of videos that want me to get out before this. And when you're modeled with the divine will, there's no more short-sighted gains. It's all about long-term and always in balance with the universe. We've had civilizations after civilization for tens of thousands of years that have desecrated themselves because they weren't willing to live within balance, truth, and justice, where all are equal, all have the same rights, all have the same value in different but unique ways. And we're moving back to that. But in order for you to be able to fully align what that is for your next version of yourself, you need to let go of the stuff in the old that is still holding you back. And you'll be amazed at how quickly things change around you when you make these changes. So recently, I changed this room. I used to have a massage table in here and I would see in-person clients. But since this whole thing with the virus, I'm not seeing clients in my home. And I don't know if I ever will. But the thing is that the space was so overwhelming to me. Like, I still had this old energy of the table, and in the massage table had become a catch-all for the books and my notebooks. I also paint, so I had paint supplies on there, and it just became so much. So about 2 weeks ago, I was just like, I have to let this go. Like, I have to let go of this fear that if I let go of the massage table, then I'm losing out somehow. And there definitely was a piece of that. So I let that go. I bought some new desks. I've created 2 separate areas. There's a third one being built for my art. And creativity's like through the roof. Because I was so focused on, well, I'll do that, but I don't want to get rid of that massage table because someone might want to come see me, when I know that's not actually part of my path. That's not what my higher self wants. There is a time where I see myself working with one-on-one clients face to face, but it's not here. So I needed to let that go. And one of the things is that because we're in this merging process between our physical selves, our conscious selves, and our higher selves, is we have to come into alignment with what your higher self wants. One of the things that I ran into is my higher self wanted things that I didn't want or hadn't even thought about. And my higher self didn't want some of the things that I was working on. So I had to coalesce the list and let go of some of the things that I wanted and had been working on for years and let them go. And that was a big emotional piece for me to do. But these are the things that are talking about that we need to do. I mean, just yesterday I sat with my higher self and said, okay, so what am I supposed to be focusing on? And I wrote the list of the things that I've been working on. Most of those were kept, but then she added 6 other ones that are large leaps for me. And I know that that's who she is and that's what she wants to work on. And I'm excited by the work, but I have to let go of the preconceived notions and the fears around it instead and just leap. We're approaching a journey to the unknown, or the unknown, which I know people get very nervous about because we've been taught in society that we need to know where we're going before we jump. And in this, we're not being shown where we're jumping to. It's a trust fall into the universe. But in order to do that, you truly have to let go of everything that you currently are. And this is the emotional attachment. Again, I'm not talking about throwing things out or getting rid of anything. The emotional attachment. Because the emotional attachment is what actually stops us, not actually having the physical thing or relationship. It's the emotional attachment to it. And we really need to work on that. And we're still working through that. This one I've been getting for the last 2 weeks. This is Mountain. This goes with this card. Mountain is this idea that we need to climb over this huge mountain to get to the other side. And it's the only way I can have true bliss, joy, success, peace, abundance, all that stuff is if I go over the mountain. And these things happen. So I'm going to climb the mountain. I need all of this stuff to happen. And then I'm going to be perfect. When this energy that's coming is not built on anything that we have ever seen before on this planet. This has never been done. This rebirthing of the higher self into the physical being without physical death has never happened before. So that means the ways to get there, the ways of being are entirely different. And we haven't even seen what they look like yet. So you cannot do the things that you used to do and think you're going to get the same results. It's not going to happen. You'll start to notice things fall apart, or you'll miss a mark. And maybe the mark will get farther and farther away because you're still trying to operate just like you have been in the 3D model, but trying to live on the 5D. It doesn't work anymore. There was a time period where we could straddle between the lower dimensions and the higher dimensions. That's ending. Like, in order for your higher self to come into your physical body, you have to totally align with the higher truth of unconditional love, divine will, all of that. But there is a way to get there without having to go over the mountain and have certain checkbox checks and certain things happen before everything's going to be kumbaya. Your kumbaya moment comes from you. You are a co-creator, which means you create that for yourself. And your higher self knows another way around the mountain. But in order for you to listen to him or her, you need to let go of your perceived idea of what needs to happen before you have that moment. Everybody's path to this place is different. There's similarities, but we're all different, all uniquely made. And the only person or being who knows how you get there is your higher self. So there's no outside anything that's going to tell you that. There's no book about it. There's no video to watch. There's nothing. You have to go inside yourself. You'll have to build a communication stream with your higher self. And yes, that takes patience, but don't you want to know how to get to where you're going the fastest way with the most ease and grace? And the only way to do that is to do that within yourself. And if you struggle with meditation, meditation can sometimes be like a 4-letter word for people, then don't sit still in your bed. Go for a walk. If you're a runner, go run. Go sit and watch the ocean. Watch the birds sing. Those are all meditation points where you're allowing yourself to decompress, where you can start to harness the communication that your unseen friends and higher self are trying to give you. So that's that. And then this last card just cements it. So this is Gentle Gardener. Usually a good card, but it's upside down again. And this is it's the same thing. I read this before I started, and that's one of the other things that has happened today, which I'll talk about in a minute. Do you harbor resentments? How often do you reinforce negativity by affirming lack and limitation? Every time you send out a desire for something but secretly harbor a belief that you're undeserving it, you plant weeds in your garden. So we all want this abundance. We want this peace, joy, bliss, success. Want to feel like we're making a difference, like we matter, that we have a voice. But when we have conflicting beliefs in our DNA that we don't matter, that our voice doesn't matter, or I'm not creative, or I'll never be successful, they're running up against one another. So you have to look at, again, that's an inside job, what is really running in your subconscious that's preventing you from having that. You waiting for something else to change around you in your outside world, and you think that's going to make you abundant. It doesn't work that way. You as a physical being in a vessel have programming. This is beliefs. Limiting or limitless, doesn't matter. This is how you operate. This is how you see the world. This is how you see perspective. This is how you react. It's all based on that programming that runs in the subconscious. If you won the lottery tomorrow and you have subconscious beliefs around money, around the fact that you don't feel like you deserve it, you think people are going to ask you for it, you think you're going to, be ostracized, whatever, you will manifest that regardless if you have $1 million. That doesn't change just because you win $1 million. You have to change the programming to make you feel like you deserve it, that you won't lose it, that it will bring you peace and joy. But through genetics and maybe this lifetime, you may have beliefs around that prevent you from experiencing what $1 million could actually give you. And it won't be peace. It will be the unworthiness piece. They quickly flashed something else and I lost it again. There's a lot coming in. Let's see if I get it. So they're flashing me this thing because right now with where we live, there's a lot of, they're saying ostracization of people who have money. And I'm not giving anybody props. Who they are is their own business. But if you think rich people are evil and you want $1 million, then that would mean that you would have to be seen as evil to get it. Like the two don't go together. So you have to work on the programming to prevent that. And one of the other things that runs underneath beyond the limiting beliefs is resentment. And Resentment is devastating, devastating. It will ruin your life if you don't realize that you have them. And it's not just towards people, whether you know them or not. It's against yourself. We resent ourselves. We resent our bosses, coworkers, family, partners, friends, people at the grocery store, government officials, corporations, rich people. And those resentments will throw you off track, and it can cause a lot of issues within you. I suffered from a lot of resentments. When I started this is how I got into this. I had really bad systematic candida to the point where my nervous system was a complete mess. I was tested for everything under the sun. None of it you ever want to actually have. But I was so desperate for an answer that I was just like, just tell me, because I can't fix it unless I know. And it turned out a systematic candida. And I got it to a maintenance point where I was controlling it with food and herbs and everything. But when I learned theta healing, which is the first modality I learned that candida feeds off of resentment. Like the energy of resentment is what feeds the candida. So with theta healing, I used the tools that I had learned to release all the resentments I had. And believe me, I had a ton, including myself. And now I don't have candida. I can eat sugar. It doesn't bother me. And when I do have a moment, I know that I'm holding resentment. That's an example of what resentment can do to you. And resentment will make you easily triggered to anger, easily triggered to fear, easily triggered to anxiety. It will make you doubt yourself. It will make you overthink everything. It will make you feel like you'll never get where you want to be, because it's like an overarching theme in your body. So resentments are definitely something to let go of. You will fly higher than you can ever imagine if you are willing to do the work on resentments. They're like lead weights that you can't get rid of. They only grow unless they're tended to. Interesting, right, garden? They need to be tended to. Okay, so they want me to move on to make sure I actually have a time constraint today, which is a good thing. And then they want me to do, 2 cards for the day after, 3-3. And it's Monday, don't think, oh my God, like, you know what, maybe I do have resentments. And I'm a big proponent of muscle testing, and this is how you would know. You could, if you don't know how to muscle test, you can use a pendulum as well, and you can just ask, do I have resentments that are holding me back? And then you have to, then you can ask, is it my family? Is it a partner? Is it, I don't know, rich people? Is it certain religions or certain cultures? Or is it friends or a coworker or a boss, or is it myself? And then once you know where the resentments are, you can start to reflect on them and figure out why you're holding them. Resentments only hurt one person, you. They do not hurt the person that you resent at all. They hurt you. And you deserve better than that. And Source and all your unseen friends want you to know that you deserve better than that. But resentments hold you back from being the best you can be. So we're going to get 2 cards for the lead out from 3-3. So this is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So one of the other things that I'm going to do this week is put up a free meditation. It's called Reflections of the Sacred Pool. And it's to assist with this process that we're all going through, so you can get some visuals and maybe help you work through it so that it's less a time period in this integration piece. So, sorry about that. That's my time constraint. we got a little bit more time, so that you can hopefully use it to help with the integration process and help recognize the things that are still holding you back from being able to allow your higher self in fully, for you to be able to actually see him or her clearly and understand who he or she wants you to embody in this life, in this next version of yourself. That I hope to have out by the end of the week. Okay. So we're only going to get 2 cards for this one. And this is why I mentioned this, because about the Sacred Pool, because I pulled the Sacred Pool card. Now, I would normally read this, but I'm not going to, because I already know what they're talking about. We're being given a moment right now in this, where we are right now, to be able to see, sense, or know the true identity of who our higher self is. Now, our higher self is all-encompassing. He or she is every iteration you've ever had on any planet. But there is a version of him or her that they want to live in this lifetime. So he or she is going to start showing you what that looks like. Now, this may show up as your higher self showing you that it's doing something, or you may actually just see him or her dressed in a certain way, and then you know. For me, it was dress, for sure. And we're in this period where, I've talked about the birthing process, and the Sacred Pool is the birthing zone. It's the water of rebirth. And when I started this Sacred Pool visions that I started to have, I was sitting on the side of the pool because I couldn't get myself in there. I saw vividly my higher selves reflect back to me, and I had such an anxiety response to it. I had a lot of work to do. But you have to get into the pool, and there's processes that they want to bring forward to help us do this integration process. After this 3/3 date, we're going to be given a window, they're saying, to accept our full presence of our higher self in our physical body, or whether we want to continue the old. I said earlier about how we're coming to a point where we won't be allowed to straddle the fence anymore, where oh yeah, our higher self is great today, but no, I want it to be done this way tomorrow. This is what they mean by ending. You are going to have to make a conscious choice whether you're in or not. Now, I have already told them every night, I'm like, just let's do this already. Like, I'm tired of the old struggle and sacrifice, and moving into a place where I have more clarity, where I learn from creativity and joy and discovery. I want that. I want to feel freedom within myself and have it manifest around me. And I know it's because I need to embody more of who my higher self is. So this energy of Sacred Pool is this reflection, and not see your conscious self when you look in the mirror, but to see your higher self when you look in the mirror or in the Sacred Pool. And then how do you get into the pool? Can you get into the pool with her, where the magic happens between integrating the vessel of what's currently in your physicality into your actual higher self? And this is where we'll be after we go through this 3/3. Now, some of us are already seeing this. This is something that I've already seen, but we're still entering that time. I get that 3/3 is a bit of a tipping point, where you decide when you're going to set your sails. Are you going to continue the way you've been living life and not willing to align with your higher self's truth? Or are you going to choose to shut off the old and truly, fully commit to living your highest truth through your higher self? And that's what the Sacred Pool represents. And then the second card is Coming to Life, which is all about rebirth. These two cards are, in the sacred pool, you come to life. But it's a new life. It's a new way of being. It's a new way of honoring ourselves and our gifts and our talents that Source created us with. They're saying the days of overthinking it is over. It's a time when you just know that these are the things you're supposed to be doing. These are whatever the career path is, or a job or business or family, friends, whatever, you'll just know. Because you'll come from your higher self's clarity. And your higher self, I always say, they have humor. They all do. But when your higher self wants something done, they mean business. There's no frosting. They will tell you what they need. And I myself am working through accepting that. She's always been there, but as I work through this sacred pool stuff, which is where I find myself every night before I fall asleep, I'm having to accept more and more of her ideals and where she wants to go. Now, obviously, she's not separate from me, but we have been separated so long from our higher selves, and they've always lived in the higher chakras, that there's a reconciliation that has to happen between our conscious self and our higher self in order for the true integration to happen. And this is where we are now. And they're saying after 3-3, things are going to change really quickly. And I don't just get that from a individual basis, but also a collective basis. So there's still some work. They told me not to say that, so I won't. I'm getting ahead of myself, they told me. So I won't talk about that. But we're in this 3-3 energy, we have the opportunity to birth a new version of ourselves. One that feels more free, more abundant, more successful, more loved. We love ourselves more. We speak our truth more. We do what we're supposed to be doing via what Source created us to be, instead of this very stranglehold life that some of us find ourselves in, that we feel like we can't breathe. No matter what we do, we can't breathe. You're going to get a chance to be able to say, I'm done with that and I want to move on. And it can be scary. We don't know where we're going. Your higher self can't even tell you how this transition is going to feel for you, because it's not been done before. And I was told, God, years ago that this would happen, that our higher selves would birth into our physical beings. And I thought, okay. But here we are. And even though your higher self has a plan, your conscious self still has to agree to it, which is where this you need to answer the call thing comes in. Or you need to let go of things. Your higher self does not put a lot of energy into physical items. It's your conscious self that does. Your higher self knows the full plan, like beyond this piece. And there are some pieces that you're holding on to that don't align with him or her's truth, and they know what's coming. And again, you can muscle test. This is a good way to know. Now, I do know that for me, they've only been giving me like 2 weeks out. Like, go do this, and when you're done, we'll give you the rest. I actually like that. It keeps me structured and not all over the place, so I'm okay with that. But it's that journey to the unknown. I've let go of the need to know where it's going to lead me. They just say, go do this, and I go, okay, go. Okay, now. And I did struggle with that for a long time, but they're asking us to trust our higher selves, this higher version of ourselves, the intuition that comes from him or her, in order to guide us into this new path that we're all finding ourselves in. Things that you were doing this year for work or business, relationships may not work after this because they're not in alignment with what your higher self wants. And that can sometimes be a struggle. But after 3-3, you're going to get a choice. Are you willing to truly see who your higher self has been in who he or she wants you to embody now? And for my own, I know some of those are big asks, because that's why I had such an anxiety attack when I was shown what I saw. And this version of my higher self is not my future self. It was a past self, and it's the energy of what my higher self wants me to embody. And I am working on working through that. And it took me like 3 days to work through it. I mean, it was not small beans at all. So we're all going through this. Just because people don't talk about it doesn't mean it's not happening. And no one can make this choice for you. You need to make it. You need to consciously say it. Source, higher self, unseen friends, I am ready to accept my highest calling and my new divine life that is being designed for me right now, and soon will be birthed into reality. I let go of all things that no longer serve me, all results, physical items, emotions, resentments that only hold me back. I am ready to let them go so I can rise higher and higher and embrace my higher self and bring forth my best life possible. You have the ability to do that. You could repeat what I just said, which was, pretty straight. And it's something that you should say every morning when you get up to remind yourself of what you're working towards, what we're all working towards. And you have the knowledge inside of you in order to do this. I mean, before you were born, all of the plans, programming were put in place for you to do this. It's just getting the conscious self to align to it. It's already there. There isn't a book that you need to read. There isn't a video that you have to watch. There isn't somebody you need to go to listen to. The person you should be listening to is your higher self. He or she knows exactly how to get you there, over the hump, as they're saying. Sure, you can get help from me and others who can help you work through the blocks that prevent you from being able to work with your higher self, hear your higher self, build a communication system with your higher self, trust him or her, make sure it feels safe to work with him or her. It's an outside force, even though he or she is part of you, until you get to the point where you're willing to work through the separation, it's still somebody you don't know. So it's okay to be scared, or it's okay to be nervous, but those just point to things that have happened in past lives that are preventing you from being able to honor your own truth. Your higher self is your highest truth. She holds it. And it's open and available for you, for all of us. But it doesn't come from out there. It comes from within, and not up here in your heart space. And then they're saying the last thing is so through all this spiritual work, we find ourselves a lot in these upper chakras, or floating through space, if you will. And we have to get much better at grounding. Our higher self is going to force us to feel more grounded. He or she's been up there, and we've been connecting to her for however long. And in order for us to manifest this new world into being, we have to physically ground ourselves. And whatever grounding looks like to you, there's many ways to do this. There's obviously grounding practices. I've had healers in the past tell me to paint my toenails red because red is grounding, or wear red socks. That's not my deal. I used to have red toenails. Wear red pants, eat root vegetables. Those are all grounding things that you can do without having to do a practice. It's just something to honor it. I have underneath my bed a grounding vortex, which I got part of a set that has an upper vortex. And I'll link down below where I got those. It's biomorphic geometry. And my biggest thing is when I would sleep at night, I would never fully ground into my physical body after sleeping. But now that I have this, I don't have that problem. And I don't have problems with grounding. It's almost like it's trained my body to know how to do it. And I went on a little trip in October and I forgot to take it with me. And my legs hurt so much. I couldn't ground worth nothing because I'm used to sleeping in that vortex, the grounding vortex. So, find something that works. Water's grounding. So if you depending on where you are, you could swim. That's grounding. Where I live, unless you have an indoor pool or indoor access to a pool, it's kind of hard to do that right now. Most of them are frozen on the outside. So, you need to take that action. And, I talk to so many people are like, am I doing the right things? Am I doing the right meditation? Am I doing this? And they want you to stop being so hard on yourself. This constant need to know what's next, or what if I did this? Would I be able to do this? What if I did this? And curiosity is great, but they're saying there's this like energy of lack and need, like I didn't get what I wanted from that, so I need to do something else. And then you just keep doing it instead of asking your higher self and saying, okay, so what is it that I should be doing really? And he or she knows. And sometimes, in my experience, in my work, because I work with a higher self so much, and I connect to your higher self, and I ask your higher self, so where is the original trauma point of whatever you're struggling through? And we clear that then clears all your limiting beliefs. Sometimes this need to feel like you're never doing the right things can definitely be a past life thing, and something may have happened to you that you have been unable to access or unwilling to see, that is now preventing you from getting to the core. And all of this doing is just distraction so that you don't look at that. So there's a lot of pieces to this. It's not, simple, cut and dry. We've all been on this planet for a long time, which means a lot of us have a lot of stuff to work through. So I'm going to do some quick cards, and I'm going to call it a day or night, wherever you are, and that's it. So these are from Magical Dimension by Starlight. And this is the energy of this week. And I apologize for the car noise. I never realized until I started to do any recordings how noisy some of the cars are in my neighborhood. And that's one. I don't live on a main road, so we don't have trucks or anything like that, but okay. I don't know if these are going to be quick cards, but anyways, the first card is Transformation, Metamorphosis, Synchronicity, and the Unexpected. This is this week's energy. I've tried to pull cards for Wednesday and they won't give me cards for Wednesday. And that just means there's something that we're not supposed to see yet. But this is where we're going. We're transforming. Now, many of us have been in the cocoon for months, if not years, and have been reconfiguring ourselves, but we're getting ready to birth into this beautiful butterfly, if you will, and the unexpected. I've been getting cards about unexpected visitors coming home for months, and this just cements it. This is the energy for this week. And then the next one, higher perspective. This is the one that I could probably talk about a lot, but I'll try to keep it short, being I want to keep this short. So the cosmos, awakening, and unity. There is a whole play going on around you that you are unaware of. These are your higher selves, unseen friends, ancestors, that are all in the astral field, and when you sleep at night also are potentially part of this, where you're moving pieces around in order to help birth this transformation in for yourself and the world. But a lot of us have these blinders on and we can't see the higher perspective. And your higher self knows the higher perspective. This is why it's important for you to look at your resentments, because you will not be able to see a higher perspective if you have any resentment. You will just be pinpointed on that because that's where your anger and rage is. And in order for you to see a higher perspective, you would have to let that go. You must know that there's a whole set of things going on that we are not aware of. And I'm not saying from a physical thing. I'm talking about from the astral plane. That your higher self is working on. That your unseen friends are working on. That source is working on in order to birth this for you. And in order for you to see the full picture means you need to let go of all this need to have certain results, have certain things happen, have certain people do things, have you receive certain things in order for you to shift. You can shift who you are right now by doing two things. They're saying recognize and honor your resentments. What does that mean? Honor them. Because in honor, you work through looking through why you actually have them and what it prevents you from having. And then through that, you get a higher perspective where you can start to see that there's more going on in the astral plane for your highest and best good with grace and ease than you have been able to see thus far because you've been so focused on these resentments that you have. And again, it could very well be yourself, not necessarily other people. You'd be surprised. That's one of the things I'll ask people, and people will say, oh, I don't resent myself, but a lot of us do. It comes from regret, where the mistakes that we made or the choices we've made or how we grew up. So we need to get to that. And this higher perspective includes unity. It includes unifying everything within us and outside of us. As above, so below. As within, so without. How you feel about the world, how you feel about others, how you feel about yourself through beliefs, limiting or limitless, emotional triggers, resentments, regrets, is what you will see mirrored back to you in the world. So in order for you to see a different world, you have to let go of what's preventing you from being able to see that. So we're in that energy. So I'm going to call it a day, night, wherever you are. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed this video, I invite you to like the video. That really helps me out. Being a new channel, it's really important. And if you have any questions about what we talked about today, what else you'd like to see on the channel, I would gladly love to hear that. I want to know how I can help you open your psychic gifts, acknowledge your higher power, be able to integrate more of your higher self, become who you were meant to be from the beginning. So I wish you all love. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.